Well, hey, folks, today I have another special guest. In that, this is not just somebody that I wanted to uh, have present some information that would be useful to you, but also because we've had a very unique, although short-lived, intense relationship. Timothy Dwyer, he's a really good guy and like me, kind of. A pretty straight-laced, normal guy during the day or during most days, but uh, he was the gentleman who closed out my 40-year love affair with boxing and specifically actual contact sparring. So I asked Timothy if he would share some of his experiences and his background about this. And so I'm just going to start right off with that. And first, I want you to notice, Timothy, if you didn't already, um, my nose has returned to its normal size, and it's in the right spot in my face again because I know the last time you saw me, that was not the situation. So. Yay, healing. The body's miraculous that way, isn't it?
Good, good.
Okay,
Well, I'm
so
in good company then because mine's been broken a number of times as well. So,
yeah, yeah.
oh
So
yeah.
I was watching Timothy when we touched base. He sent me some video of him sparring more recently, and yeah, just kind of like every time I'm also a musician, so when I stop playing, I'm done with the band thing or I'm done playing solo or whatever. And then I go somewhere and somebody's playing, they look good doing, like, oh, I really want to do it
Yep.
again. But then I instantly remembered what it felt like walking in on that right cross that he, he sent my way. It's like, nah, I'm 63. I'm good now. Also, I don't know why I sort of had it in my mind that you were a little older, even though you didn't look at when we touched base when we hooked up initially. So I was really pleased to find out there was a wider age gap that made me feel better about kicking the snot out of me. So
Yeah, we met through the Masters boxing program, which used to be 40 and up. They have gotten a lot looser on the rules in the last 10 years or so. So they're 35 and up is what they allow now. And I did that for a bunch of years and met you through the Masters chat group on Facebook.
right, right.
But 47 now, I'll be 48 in a couple months. So almost in the 50 plus club, but
Yeah.
headed that way quickly.
Yeah, you're a future over 50 athlete very, very soon. So yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit more about how you got into boxing and just any other sports that you're involved in? I think you said you were track,
Yeah.
right? Did you do some track?
Well, not track so much, but I love running, lifelong runner. I got four kids. Two of them have ADD, and I think they've cured it with just running every day.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's running's my church or was my church for many, many years. Love it, but I never competed in it. Just I do it. I grew up, country club sports, competing in tennis and swimming, water polo.
Right.
Swimming and water polo were my two big ones. Prep school swimmer in a real tough school, real tough state. And then I went to Georgetown and I swam on the team there. And didn't get into boxing. And, I boxed a little bit as a little boy, but I didn't get serious into boxing until after graduating college and moving out west here. Two things kind of brought me into it. One is just kind of like life circumstance and that kind of things. uh, I met a real powerhouse businesswoman who became my wife, and you know, she was just taken off in her career, and
Sure.
that does two things to you. Number one, it kind of feminizes you a little bit and makes you want to find something more masculine in life to get your manhood back. If
Sure.
your wife's moving more quickly than you in
Sure.
life, and it does, and so boxing was there for me. And then number two, I'm a finance number nerd, and I have the flexibility of time during the day.
Great.
And when I got into boxing, I started competing and I started promoting pro fights. And this was before I was, had kids and stuff, and when my kids were younger as well. So I was able to work 4 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then train after that and then promote after that. So it was kind of like those two just circumstantial happenstance things, having a
Sure.
wife that was doing so well, and then having these opportunities.
Right.
But there's also an attitude thing that gets you into boxing, and that's the dream catcher attitude. And like you do things with music, you go after that. I've gone after things with music.
Right.
You're a little boy, you look at boxing, these opportunities come in front of you, you just run at them full steam and take care of them,
Sure.
And so it's a mix of all of those things that brought me into boxing.
Yeah, that's so great that I really appreciate you putting it that way because I think the further are away from boxing, the less you understand how multidimensional it is in terms of psychology and emotion. And one of the things that really came through for me, it was so much fun to introduce my the two gentlemen, Ed and Peter, who were in my previous interview. I sparred with one from mid 20s to mid 30s, and then the other one from like 30 to 40. And again, they had never crossed paths, and we're older, and and it's like we want to have a positive effect on the people around us and in the world in general. And coming from the world of hand-to-hand combat, you think but there's a dichotomy there. There's a paradox. I love those guys, and I so appreciate that you're such a decent guy, and that I I stepped away from sparring. It was just something I wanted to try again after taking 12 years off and having done grad school and COVID and all this stuff. And I'm getting older, but I still keep myself in really good shape. And the place, that boxing club that we were at, Kennel, and having that experience with you, and two was plenty for me. I got floaters the first time we sparred in my eyes. Um, and those don't go away. They're not terrible, but it's like, okay, these are not this, this is not a 40-year-old body, let alone
Yeah,
a 25-year-old body
yeah,
anymore. And then the second time that we sparred, it's like, okay, it was great, but it's like I couldn't get away from the punches like I used to be able to. And I didn't feel comfortable getting really physical because I didn't trust my ability especially inside, or we didn't have a lot of time to get used to how each other moves. And when you have a sparring partner for a longer time, that dance is a more elegant, precise dance. And in terms of keeping both people safe, which is really, really important, just generally speaking, and to respect the sport, but also you become friends with your sparring partners too, right? So anyway, I really appreciate. Didn't get a chance to tell you that. I really appreciate that. This was kind of a big kind of life ending, chapter ending thing for me. So that was great. So you mentioned some elements in terms of your attraction to boxing, but there's a big jump between being a spectator and wanting to sort of be around and in the sport and being willing to step between those ropes. Now, when
yeah.
when
So
did you hit it where it's like, I really want to try this?
Yeah, so I came out here in 2000, and I think I started boxing like 2003. And when I did it, dream catcher attitude, I wanted to really learn it. They've been studying boxing on this planet for thousands and thousands of years. There's a right way to punch, there's a right way to block, there's a right way to move, and I want to learn from the best. And
Right.
so I started researching, and there was a guy named Paris Alexander who was coaching in the city, and Paris fought Oscar De La Hoya, and he was a big local
Oh,
name. He
wow.
was San Francisco boxing. So that was my guy. So I just called him up and got a couple private lessons and kept going and kept going. And I was with him for 15 years or so,
Wow.
and did, a couple golden gloves, but it was just fun and I just loved it. But I wasn't competing. And then he got hit by a car and paralyzed.
Oh,
And
God.
it was one of those things where it was like, hey, I'm going to represent Paris and I'm going to start fighting for him. And I started this little team and I started fighting in the Masters and got knocked out. And the guy who knocked me out ended up becoming my friend and training partner.
Wow.
Small little world, everybody respects each other, and I
Yeah.
started winning with them, and that was Team San Gemino, and that became my coach, and I was with them for 6 or 7 years, and came back and ended up
Right
winning a couple
on.
belts. And at the same time, Pacquiao was number one in the world, and number two in the world was this fella Karim Mayfield from San Francisco,
Okay.
and he was part of two of Pacquiao's camps. One against Margarito, and he got kicked out of the camp against Mosley for hurting Pacquiao. And
Oh,
he
wow.
was a legit boxer, and so he ended up retiring and doing his thing, and then had a comeback fight during the time that I was kind of going through all of this.
Okay.
And he had a training session down at the city hall. And I went there and met him, and it was this crazy story and everything.
Sure.
And then I ran into him again, and he became what's called a free agent. He was dropped by Top Rank and was
Okay.
getting old, and he could fight whatever he wanted to fight as long as he made the fights.
Right.
And I'm a number nerd businessman who just loves boxing, and I'm a
Sure.
fan. And
Yeah.
so the two of us teamed up and started a company and started putting on professional fights in San Francisco. And he came back and won a real WBU
Wow.
America's belt.
That's
And I mean, we had
great.
six huge events, and it was awesome. And it's
Exciting.
that's your attitude. You just take advantage of what's coming. And
Sure.
we conquered the city for our 6 little years or so, and then
Nice.
COVID hit, and you know
Yeah.
closed the chapter. And
Right. Right.
but that was awesome because that was all happening at one time, with me competing and winning, and then promoting, and then
Of
the city
course.
coming together. And it was a really cool little era.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Not that many people get into it past 20, 30, and take it really seriously, right? It's right at kind of
Yeah,
honestly,
you
that's the
look at the
beginning of the
Masters, and
period.
it's all fellas who just never went pro that have amateur
Right,
record. Nobody
right.
nobody really starts at a late age.
Right. So that crosses over, generally speaking, with people getting married and starting to have younger kids and everything. And so how do you balance all that, especially with, having kind of day work and then being an entrepreneur on top of that, and then also a really demanding sport.
Yeah, so I started fighting before having kids, so they were just along for the ride.
Right.
And because I had that flexible schedule and I could do it. And things changed. Now I don't fight so much. My kids are getting older. I coach a boy in their class.
Cool.
I do tons of running with my boys. Like I said, two of them had ADD,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we didn't do any medicine. And we are the two-time champions of the Alameda Donut Fun Run,
Oh,
the
that's
5K
great.
annual. Yeah, so like we run every day together, and
Yeah, you got
family
that
doesn't get
runner's
to
build.
come
You got
first.
that runner's
Yeah,
build. You move smoothly and elegantly through the air. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So family's part of it. They're not in the way
Yeah.
of it. It's yeah.
Yeah, that's so great. I love to hear that. Now, have any of them expressed any interest in boxing more
Screw
seriously?
you, old man. We're doing our own sports.
That's the way
Yeah,
it's supposed to be, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
I one of them was a little bit kind of on the nerdier side, and I tried to get him into the gym to toughen him up and get him around dudes and that kind of stuff. But he took up with running, and now he's a stud, and he's
Yeah. It's great.
doesn't like boxing. Yeah,
So I have three kids. My eldest, who's 36, he expressed when he was, early teens, a little bit of interest in boxing, and I just catch the mitts, or catch his
yeah,
punches with the mitts and that sort of thing, and showed him all three. Because they expressed interest, I showed them just some basic, leverage and movement and that sort of thing, and shifting your pelvis and following your body weight behind the jab and the crosses and that sort of thing. But my it's so funny when you mentioned the swimming and the water polo, because my middle kid, he did both of those, really dug him. He was involved in community theater for two productions, just got
I
into it.
got one of those. Yeah, it's
Yeah, he
awesome.
got into it really
Yeah,
quickly, and then he did literally like a 14-week run between these two shows again, and then that's it, I'm done. It's like he had his taste of acting, and that was it. And so he rides his bike. He lives in Arizona now. He rides his bike on the weekends. Doesn't really do strength training. He thinks about it, might do it, but at some point, but he's doing something that he loves, and it keeps him in good
Yep.
condition. My eldest, he has become a trainer. He just got his master's degree, and so he's a trainer, but he specializes. He gets referrals from mental health professionals, so he specializes in working with people who have emotional obstacles to self-care, right? And
Yep.
he's got his mom's heart, this big
Tough
heart,
job.
really
Yeah.
caring person, super smart, and it's just the right fit for him. And my daughter, who's my youngest, she's a vegan bodybuilder. And so she's now asking me some basic fitness stuff, which she didn't care. Like she didn't want to hear anything from me for a while until now she's in her, early 20s. And
Now you're cool
now
again.
I
Yeah.
actually have wisdom, but she works with a coach for what I forget what the name, I think it's figure competitor, but it's the least muscular of the female qualities and classifications. And she has her mom's build with broad shoulders, long legs, just really nicely balanced. And she's kind of slender like me. And she's worked really hard to put on some muscle volume. And she just digs it. And it's like that's how we feel about boxing. To see our
Yep.
kids latch onto something like that, it's nothing could be
It's the
more
best. Yeah.
gratifying. Well, wow. So I know you have an appointment coming up, but I am going to ask you just because I feel like you have really unique insight is for the over 50 athlete, my community who are dabbling in things that would never consider doing boxing, and maybe boxing is not their thing, but maybe something else that might be a little intimidating to try. Um, do you have any words of wisdom for that, like we're not too old yet, but we also have to consider what we're willing to put into it in terms of learning the craft and what we're for something that's so physically demanding. Are you willing to put in the training time, effort, and discomfort, right? So do you have
Yeah.
any insights on that?
Yeah. I mean, as far as the discomfort, it's one of those things where you just got to pick your pain. So it's going to be the
That's
discomfort of learning
that's
something new or
right.
the discomfort of getting old and sick. So, pick your
Sure.
pain. You're going to make your choice. But, as you get older, the fundamentals, diet, sleep, and movement, you got to do those and you got to do it seriously.
Right.
But to answer your specific question about getting into something that's intimidating, dream catcher attitude is find the right people. If you go in there and dabble, you're going to do it just a little bit. But if you got a good network of people, if you got a good network of teachers, you can go in there and learn the right way, and you can be good. You can be really good. Like
Yeah.
yeah, just do it the right way.
That's 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 a great idea to leave everybody with because we touched on the thing with the kids, find your own thing, but that's not a piece of advice I would have thought to give anybody in my group, and that's a great chunk of wisdom. So I so appreciate you making some time to share your thoughts with my folks. And just to get a chance to touch base again with you and get caught up on all that, and to learn a little bit more about your background and kind of where your head was at with all this. Your passion about that, even just like listening to talk to the other people at Kennel was, it was very contagious. So I can see how you put people around you to help you to be the best you can be at whatever it is. So I really admire that too, just personally outside of boxing and everything else. So again, thank you for your time. And I will say sayonara to our folks. Right.
Yeah. Thank you for the kind words. My pleasure.